women are also confused, right? Just because we're equal in the sense of working environment, um, and rights. And I think we need to allow the man to still be a masculine. And I'm not saying submit completely. When you say submit, I don't think that means, okay, yes, honey, I'm going to stay home and bake you apple pies all day and rear the children and like allow you to tell me what to do. I think having equality in a partnership is also really important. But where does that equality, where is that with you both? That's something that you guys kind of really have to delve into. But when you know who you are and what you want, you will attract that. I promise it.
Hey, how you doing? This is Deron Brown, and I'm your host of a podcast for men. I have a special guest with me. Her name is Celeste Moore. She is a female-male dating coach. She works with high-achieving men, and she's going to give us some game when it comes to picking up women today. Celeste, can you give yourself a brief introduction?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on today's show. So I kind of like to describe myself as a female version of Hitch. I don't know if everybody has seen that movie, but it's with Will Smith, and he is very undercover. He helps men from kind of beginning to end, kind of get the girl that they have their eye on. So in a very discreet way. So some of my men are high profile, and they don't want anyone to know that they actually had some help getting to the point of, they're ready for the dating game and they're ready for that woman. So I've been an image consultant for the last 15 years.
Okay.
And most of my clientele has been men. And then I started incorporating the dating coaching with that. Just kind of fell in. I was certified as a matchmaker about 16 years ago, but I didn't really do much with it at the time. I was still kind of young. So I've kind of melded the two together in the last couple of years, and it's been great. So
what made you switch careers? Before you were helping men with their style, but now you're helping them with their dating life. What made you do that?
So I still help men with their style. It's pretty transformative. It's from beginning to end. So I get them into a process where we start with their image, their nonverbal, verbal communication skills, their how are they missing the ball and getting the woman that they want. And so we go from outward appearance and we kind of go through the dating obstacles. Or maybe they haven't dated in a long time, or maybe they've just newly divorced, or maybe they've been married to their career and they don't know how to date. They don't know how to talk to women. They don't know how to flirt. They don't know what to talk about. So
all right, so I actually just did a show with a guy that he is a professional. He styles men as well. He has his own suit company, and he travels around the country helping men improve their professional game. When it comes to style, are you helping everyday men improve their styles, or are you also helping men improve like their social profile? Because so much of dating and business today has a lot to do with your social media presence.
yeah, totally. I have helped men in the corporate arena for years. And yeah, if social media is your platform where you're really selling yourself and you want to up your game in general, totally. I have just focused on the dating, and just because I've had so many guys come in and they're like, I know what to wear to work, but I don't know what to wear on dates. So very open to helping them create their image, and however that looks like, if it's for work or if it's dating.
Where are you currently located?
So I live in Austin.
Okay.
And but I travel about once a month. I'm in LA, New York, Miami, kind of everywhere. So I usually go see clients for work, or just kind of traveling. So
Okay, I asked that because I'm a California boy,
okay.
and being casual in California is different from being casual in Utah. I currently live in Utah. A
Oh,
lot of people in Utah, they dress very conservative, really professional, clean cut, no facial hair, clean cut, everything. So being casual in Utah is very different from being casual in California, New York, to Texas, to etc.
right.
You're helping men, and when you're helping men improve their style, do you take into account culture?
For sure. Yeah, it's one of my top questions is where do you live? What's your climate? What type of work do you do? Yeah, so that's huge because yeah, Utah is very clean cut. I know a little bit about Utah, and California is completely different, and obviously New York. New York is completely different. So the fact that I've worked in all major cities helps with that. But yeah, it's one of the first questions that I ask somebody when we're kind of asking them what their goals are.
So what? So can you give me an example or a point in your history where it came to when you were styling men, you were like, you know what, I need to start helping men
Mhm.
in their dating life. Like, what happened? What was it?
So it was really early on when I became certified as an image consultant. Like prior to that, I was already a certified matchmaker, and all of the people in the image industry were like, "Oh my God, you really should combine the two." And I was like, "Okay." Well, I really couldn't see it at that point in my life, and as I've gone through the years of working in clientele, I've had a lot of people interested in that part of their life. And it kept popping up and kept popping up. And I was like, you know what? This really could be something. And so I just really kind of merged the two. And it's been great. People really have been open to it.
So I have to ask this question because right now on the internet, on YouTube, there's a section of men. Are you familiar with the manosphere? Red pill, black pill, all that stuff.
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, originally it didn't start off that way. Originally, I want to say a few years ago, it was positive, and there were guys that had life experience, and they were basically giving advice to other young men and helping people get along. But then just a whole nother bitter crowd of men joined the movement, and it's been there ever since. So
Yeah.
right now, within that space, it's really hard for a female dating coach to thrive within that space of men. Now, just
Mhm.
because you can't connect with all men within that area doesn't mean you can't connect with men at all. Most of
Right.
the men that are positive, achieving, and doing things, they're not even within that group.
Yeah.
But I have to ask you this: as a woman, what qualifies you to coach men on how to get women? Because you know you can't ask a fish how to catch fish.
So I am a very direct person. I communicate with men very efficiently. I've had female clients, and we just don't like certain female clients are great. I have some, but they have a very goal oriented direction in life. And so that works out well. Um, I'm teaching men what women want, right? How we want to be treated, how we want to be um, how we want to be dated, right? What we're looking for, what we're turned on by. And obviously, I'm qualified because I'm certified from men or women. That doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm giving them a point of view from how women want them to come across.
You mentioned turning on women. Could you
Mhm.
name a few things that actually women find sexy, attractive, and women universally find sexy and attractive?
So, number one is confidence.
Okay.
I mean, that's huge. And I know that's very broad, right? But when a man dresses well and comfortable in his own skin, or he's just being authentic with who he is, that comes across. And women are severely attracted to that. They also are attracted to masculine energy because, like myself, I'm a business owner. I am always living in masculine energy. But when it comes to dating, I want to come into my feminine energy, and I want that man to be in his masculine. I want him to kind of take control, make the date, set up the date. I don't want to think about that stuff. And that's a huge thing for women now, especially that we're becoming more and more successful, right? We're coming into this like very equality of work zones. And I think a lot of women don't know how to get out of that masculine and into the feminine, right? So it's a little bit of both. But yeah, women really love that. They like when a man kind of takes control. And I don't mean like, I'm going to do everything. I'm telling you what to do. She really loves and is turned on by gentlemen. I don't think there's
Mhm.
enough men in the world who open a door or pull out a chair for a woman anymore. surprisingly.
How do you, because you said you're a professional woman and you're working in basically male dominated fields, you're in your masculine energy a lot.
Hmm.
Um, as a woman, I want to say, because my ex was actually a high power woman. She was a CFO, you
Okay.
know. So for men who are dating those types of women, how do you get those women to actually get into their feminine? Is it a lot of times they say woman that's high achieving, she wants a man that makes more money than her, or she needs a man that's more masculine than her. But I'm not sure if those statements are true or not, but how do you actually get a woman that's so used to running businesses, being in a masculine environment, she used to taking control? How do you get her to like calm down and actually to accept the leadership of a masculine man?
Well, you have to have a masculine man coming in and being very comfortable with saying, "Okay, love, you've had a great day. Like, let's leave work at home. Let me make dinner for us tonight, or let me make that reservation, or I already made that reservation. Go ahead and put on something sexy. Just relax, enjoy. Here's a glass of wine. Whatever your woman is interested in, just help her kind of unwind, because I think it's so easy to stay in that, right? We all know that we can open our own doors. We all know that we can make that reservation, but it's really nice when you have the man just kind of sit back and do it for you. And that really helps. It doesn't mean that I need him to make more money than me. I just need him to bring the masculine energy so that I can come into my feminine. Because you can't have two masculine energies. It becomes competition, and competition doesn't work in a relationship.
Agreed. There's a book by David Data, I think it's called The Way of the Superior Man. And in his book, he talks about sexual polarity.
Yeah.
Now, typically, are you familiar with sexual polarity?
Yeah, a little bit.
Basic. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, and enough that I understand what you're talking about, but I haven't studied it extensively.
So basically, you attract your polar opposite, sexual polar opposite. A masculine man, he will attract a feminine woman, and if that man is more of a feminine man, he'll attract a masculine woman, and if he's more conservative in the middle, he'll meet somebody that's more neutral as well. For a basic point I'm trying to point out is that some men they aren't men that not all men that come to you are masculine. Some men are going to vary from degree to degree when it comes to masculinity and their femininity. Based off of that, do you actually recommend? Because I don't. The reason I'm asking is I don't believe that all women are made to submit. Some women are. I think we see it in Hollywood, definitely in the 50s. But a lot of the movies we see today is usually the woman that's in charge and the guy that's goofy. So when you're approached by men who have different energies, do you recommend different women to them?
So, yes and no. We all have feminine and masculine energies in different situations. The example I was giving is when a woman is in her masculine all day. Like you said, your ex was a CFO or CEO. Yeah, she was in that role all day. But I'll tell you, when it comes to her relationship with you, I imagine that she doesn't always want to be in that role because it's not our natural makeup. It doesn't mean that you can't have a man that has feminine energies in certain instances, right? So maybe at home, maybe it is the opposite. Maybe the man's more in his feminine. He's the one who kind of takes care of the household, and the woman, I don't know, she's the breadwinner. I mean, that could work. But in a romantic setting, and that doesn't mean sexual setting, in a relationship, you have to have one and the other. And it can be it can work. So if a man has more feminine energies when it comes to the dating world, then she's got to be fine and happy with being in the masculine. But 9 times out of 10, a woman doesn't want to have to make the decisions all the time.
I understand. I played college football at a pretty major school for the University of Utah, and one of
Okay.
my really good friends, he was also a stud as well. He was a D1 athlete, 6'4", 300 pounds, pretty solid.
Mhm.
And he's a stay-at-home father. His wife actually is the breadwinner, big-time lawyer. And I know this guy. He's a very masculine man.
Yeah.
But just to build off of what you said, although he's masculine, he knows when it's time for him to cut that down and raise the kids and take care of the kids when he's with his wife. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure he's like the man in control when it's time to be. Does that
Right.
make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we shift our energies all the time. So, but when it comes to just starting to date, it's really important that a man kind of steps into that role. Doesn't mean it has to stay there.
Would you say that dating is harder today than it
Mhm.
was? I just remember being in college when
Yeah.
Facebook had just came out, so people
Mhm.
didn't take it serious, and it was understood that if you wanted to get a woman or you wanted to get laid, even
Yeah.
for women, you had to speak. You had to speak to a woman. Even women had to get out of their comfort zone and speak to a guy they were interested in, or get their friends, tell their friends, or they'll approach you in the group. But I've noticed that as social media has become a lot more popular, um, people don't interact as much as they used to. You know, there's people's social skills aren't where they used to be at, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of fear and anxiety for the opposite sex. So what are you experience? Do you think it's harder today than it was, I want to say 10, 15 years ago or more?
So it's harder in the sense that we're not in front of people in real life as much as we were before. And that poses a problem because, yeah, we forget how to speak to the opposite sex. We forget how to flirt. We forget those cues because it's really easy when you have a lot of, people online and you can just swipe and swipe. So it's easier because you have more population, but it's harder in the sense that people forget how to interact. So it's really kind of getting people comfortable on how to talk and how to learn social cues and getting people in front of each other because really that's what it comes down to. Someone could be great even in picture right on Instagram and they look so great, but you meet them and you're like, oh, you don't quite look like that, or you fit the bill on paper, but you and I just don't have any chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry is a big one. I feel like there's a lot of dorks on the internet giving dating advice. Honestly, I feel like the wrong guys on the internet are giving the dating advice because usually the guys that are complaining about women who haven't had a lot of success with women, and the guys that should be giving advice on women, they're not on the internet. You know, they're not really teach men how to carry themselves or things they're doing. Sometimes they're even unconscious of what they're doing correctly.
Mhm.
Um, what? How do you feel about dating apps today?
So I like them and I don't like them. I like them because, like I said, there's a multitude of people. I don't like them because some of them aren't real and people can lie very easily and you just waste people's time. And I can't stand time wasters. So it's like a catch 22. I feel like they're good and they're bad. So you really have to just not rely on them 100%. So it's okay to be on dating apps. I just think that you really have to kind of shift, you have to go through a lot of them to figure out if someone's real. I just had a lady on my podcast who created a new dating app, and it's going to be starting out in the West and then moving East. And basically, you can verify a person. So, okay, he was legit 5'10. He was a real person. He was, the right age. And so I think it deters a lot of liars and bots.
Okay. It's funny. There's a woman that I go to this grocery store, and this is woman, I haven't spoken to her at all, but I was on the dating app and I saw this woman that was gorgeous. And I looked at her, I was like, I know that face. And then in person, I saw her and she's like 70 pounds more heavier than she is on the dating app. And I'm just thinking, like, what the hell is like people actually do this? You
Yeah.
know, I can't believe it. Um,
It's
what I
like you're
wanted
gonna find out, right? You're gonna find out if you're 70 pounds heavier or if you're 5 feet, or 5 inches shorter. And it's like when you're starting out with a lie, it's just, yeah, nothing's gonna go well in that situation.
Okay. Do you work with men? Oh, I'm gonna use myself as an example. All my life, women have seen me as a player. So it took me a long time to really understand what they're saying. But basically, they're saying that you look like you sleep with a lot of women or you attract a lot of women. When I was younger, I used to think I didn't go that deep into it. But
Okay.
for men who don't have problems like really attracting women per se, but they have a problem attracting the woman that they want and actually settling down and having a family and building. How do you typically help out those kind of men?
The guys that are very confident already.
The ones
And
that already attract women naturally, they're
yeah.
getting women, but they're not getting the wife. They're getting like the thotty, or women see them as for fun. Like
Yes.
guys, typically when guys they see a woman, well, an immature man, when he sees a woman, I used to do this when I was younger. You'll see, okay, yeah, that's wifey right there. Oh,
Mhm.
and that girl, you just want to hook up with her. You know, that's
Mhm.
not the girl you take home to your parents.
Right.
Guys have the same type of women do the same thing to men. They have
Mhm.
men that they see as husband material, and they see men as they see as just like sex material.
It's fun.
So the men that are basically like women see as studs, how do you help them find that find that mate?
Yeah, so they really have to be wanting to find a mate. And if they do, we have to get them out of what basically they've created habits. And those habits aren't serving them to find the wife or their long-term relationship. So it's finding out what they've been doing and what they're attracted to and kind of break down the situation and tell them what they need to do to get the wife going forward. So it really just depends on, you know, number one, they have to be ready. Number two, then we figure out the basically their habits and how to break those habits.
I'm glad you said that because I mentioned there's a lot of dorks on the internet,
Mhm.
and they're talking about how a woman's body count is guys don't like women with high body counts. That's true, but they say that men can do the same thing, and I'm hearing these dorks on the internet say this, and I'm telling them like, hey, the same way a high body count impacts women, it impacts men the same way because you can get stuck in a routine, you can get stuck in a habit, especially if you're like an athlete, you know, or an actor or something. We have a lot of eyes on you because it's
Right.
readily available, and it
Yeah.
doesn't just change overnight. You know, you have to break you have to break toxic habits and prevent them from coming into your relationship.
Mhm. Well,
I'll
you made a
go ahead.
point about, the studs, right? They've
Yeah.
never had to work for the woman. They've always been very attractive, or they've used their looks, or they've used maybe like you're an athlete. Maybe that's a real big turn on for women, right? And so now you need to create actual ways to speak to women to how to like nurture a relationship. So I think that's huge as well.
Yeah, it's called lazy game. That's what it's called. You try just a little bit. You're like, oh, she doesn't like me. It doesn't work. You know, or you don't know how to progress. So I've definitely been a victim of that, and it's annoying to be
Mhm.
honest. So what type of men that you have worked with, like what kind of men do you typically work with on average?
So right now, I usually work with guys that are 35 and over. I would say more towards late 30s and up. Um, they're usually just really busy guys that have spent their time and built their career, and along the lines they forgot about dating, or they thought, well, okay, I have to get all of my eggs in a basket before I actually start, seriously dating. And the others are, they've been in a relationship that hasn't worked. That they notice that the same habits they're doing that are like not creating the relationship that they want, and or they've been divorced, recently divorced, or yeah, a year or two or whatever, and they're getting back into the dating game and they have no idea how to date in modern society.
You mentioned something. I had another female male dating coach on my channel a
Okay.
few weeks back, and you mentioned like high achieving males thinking that they can't pursue a serious relationship until they've completed X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
How do you typically help those men? Like, how should those men actually go about stepping into the dating game while also pursuing and accomplishing their goals?
So it's really important that men are clear and very conscientious of their goals and their values, right? Because when you actually meet someone, your goals and values need to be in line with who you want to spend a long-term relationship with, whether that's a marriage or not. That's very, personal. And I don't think that they may change a little bit, like from college to, like, maybe 10 years after college. But for the most part, you kind of know already what your life goals and what your values are. And it's okay to bring in and start dating people, because you're not going to necessarily find it. Okay, I'm ready. Like, I'm Joe. I'm 42. Okay, I'm a high powered lawyer. I've got my career. I bought the house. Now I just need a wife, right? Well, it's much harder as you get older too, right? Because you're committed. This guy's committed to his job, so he's only meeting who he meets at work. So it's important to recognize that and plus, you're not always going to be in that perfect place. Not everybody is like always going to be 42. I'm ready to have 2.5 kids and be married. So, start dating, see what you like, see what you don't like from, before that.
Now you make a good point. It's like you already know what your values are, so it's no point in even delaying that. Go, and it takes work. It's not promised, like you said. It's not promised once you just turn 42 that you're going to find that person. It takes, out of all the people you date,
Mhm.
it takes about, I want to say, only about 3 or 4 of them, or well, 3 or 2 of them will probably really love you. So it really takes time to actually find that person. Say somebody, they discover you and they want to join your program.
Right.
What are the first steps what are the steps that take from beginning to end to in your whole program?
So, first and foremost is you need to be coachable. You need to come in and know that this is like going to be a transformation, right? So, you're going to hear things that maybe you don't want to hear. And that's okay though. Like, we all need to hear things in life. If something's not working for you, right? Be open to other possibilities. Be open to things that maybe you didn't think about, and it's okay. Um, and it's really taking them from beginning to end. It's really a transformation of, we do everything. Like I said, I find out, what your goals are, what's your lifestyle, what is your climate, what do you do for a living, who do you want to meet. We get really specific on who you are as a person and who you want to meet. And it's usually a 3 to 6 month program, depending on how fast you want to approach this. And we start with your image. We start with we do color theory, color analysis, your power colors, excuse me. We do the best wardrobe fit for your body type and style. And we build upon that, and whether it's for work or if it's just for dating. And then we kind of do a closet analysis. We go through what's working, what's not. Let's get rid of stuff. Let's kind of create the closet that works for you, so you can just go in and, boom, there's an outfit. And then we work on, like, we go through grooming, we go through nonverbal verbal communication, how to speak to a woman, how to flirt, first dates. Then we go through kind of a couple dates, and I also do what's called mock dating. And this allows them to go on a date with me, and how you would go on a date with the person that you were interested in. And we kind of analyze, like, okay, maybe let's do this, let's not do this. Let's kind of show you what's happening in your dating game. And this has been really successful because, there's no pressure to impress me. It's more or less like, okay, what's going on? What am I not doing well? What am I doing well? And then we kind of revisit that. So it depends on a 3 to 6 month. The 3 months we just do one mock date. The 6 months we do one in the beginning and one at the end. So we kind of see, like, how you've improved, how you show up for the date. What do you bring in, and what did I teach you, and what did you learn?
Could you give me an example of what a nightmare client would look like? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in my past, because I don't work with everybody anymore, I've been lucky enough that I can choose who I decide to work with, and we kind of figure that out. If you're going to be a nightmare client, I usually, the nightmare is, you've hired me to help you, and you've decided that you want to go back to doing what you've done, because it's comfortable. Or the nightmare is we're arguing because I'm telling you to do something that's going to help you and benefit you, but you decide that that's just not going to work. So, or someone that is constantly needing you 24/7. So those are kind of where I'm like, yeah, I don't think this might be the greatest fit.
I'm in a program right now that's supposed to help me. I teach people how to become a software developer,
Mm.
and I've had clients like that. And one of the things that actually has helped me and was actually recommended to me was that if you increase the price of your program, you automatically get rid of those people who are going to waste your time or who are going to, just be toxic and take too much energy from you, because they're not going to approach it as serious as somebody that's willing to truly invest into their future. If that makes
True.
sense.
True. Yes.
What is color analysis? I think you touched on it briefly, but I was really confused when you brought that up.
Okay, so color analysis, everybody has undertones on their skin, pink undertones or yellow undertones. Depending on your eye color, your hair color, even the palms of your hands, whether or not you have like a lot of pigment in them. So everybody can wear red, everybody can wear blues, but there are certain reds for your skin tone, right? And your hair color and your eye color. And so we basically go what your colors are, what your best colors are for you, so that when you put on a color against your face, your natural highlights like your eyes will just naturally pop, or you won't look sick. So it's really important that you wear the right colors, at least on the top half of your body. And then we go over power colors. So each color resembles something, and it's the first thing that we notice when we look at someone, whether or not we want to. It's innate. It's what we see first, and so that color says something to someone immediately.
And how long have you been working with men? I think you said that at the beginning of this show.
Yeah,
How long have you been working with men?
I started working with men and women 15 years ago. So,
Men and women 15 years ago.
yes.
And are you helping both men and women in the dating world as well?
So I have very few women clients, but
Okay.
mostly men. And that's just by choice.
Okay, let's get into it. Why? Yeah.
So I think women are the most difficult to work with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Men say that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, we are. We are quite difficult. Not all of us. Not all of us. Some of us are very decisive and know what we want, and I prefer to work with that woman. I don't have maybe the qualities to kind of nurture someone 24/7. It's exhausting. It's draining.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. I work really well. I get to point A to point B, and this is how we do it. And men listen, and they hire me because they want my help. Women have hired me in the past because they're time wasters, or they want to be competitive with me, or like I don't know. So I stopped trying to figure it out. So the women that I do help actually are really not, they're very comfortable in their own skin. They have a goal, they want to get there, and that's what we do.
Okay, so the women that you did not that you had this negative experience with, that just were
Yes.
difficult to work with. As I mentioned, some women I feel like, and I say this because I was asked this question before,
Okay.
and I feel like some women just aren't made to submit. I don't think submission by default is I think that, put like this, I think in the 1950s, I think earlier than that, women had to submit because they were dependent on the men for just to live. But
Right.
now, because the way things are, women can make their own money. Now you have a whole nother group of women. It's like half of them want to submit, but half of them don't want to submit.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, like for the men that you're working with, how do you get those men to unbrainwash themselves with the things that they've been I want to say things that they've been receiving since the feminist movement? Because a lot of the feminist movement it's prevented men from actually being as aggressive as they were before when it came to actually approaching women and pursuing women, and then also not wasting their time with the wrong women? Like, how do you, and in what ways have you seen the feminist movement affect dating today?
The way well, just on that last one, I've seen it, the gender confusion, right? The gender role confusion.
Mm,
And I say, if you're a confident man, if you know who you are, and that's really, really important, right? It's like getting really comfortable with and owning your authentic self. Because once you know who you are, you will attract who you want to attract. You'll attract the right person for you. So it's really getting men confident in their own skin, and then allowing them to be okay with opening the door, okay with still being in their masculine when dating. Like I said, in the sexual bedroom, if you don't want that and you want to be a submissive, that's totally up to you. That's something that you'll talk with your partner. And yeah, I think women are also confused, right? Just because we're equal in the sense of working environment, um, and rights. And I think we need to allow the man to still be a masculine. And I'm not saying submit completely. When you say submit, I don't think that means, okay, yes, honey, I'm going to stay home and bake you apple pies all day and rear the children and like allow you to tell me what to do. I think having equality in a partnership is also really important. But where does that equality, where is that with you both? That's something that you guys kind of really have to delve into. But when you know who you are and what you want, you will attract that. I promise it.
one of the things I like, I had a coach on my show, and he said that when you have the right woman is not when she supports your mission, when she
Mhm.
supports your vision. It's like you guys have a common goal to work towards, and she's in line with that. I do think that there is a section of men that want to control women. They're afraid, they're upset that women have the freedom and flexibility that they have today, and they want women to basically go back to the 1950s of when they just controlled them and abused them. Because I can see that definitely within the manosphere red pill space.
Yeah.
um I want to say, when it comes to pursuing women, there's two different camps.
Yeah.
You get some men who say you should not approach women, and there's another camp of men that say that you should approach women. Some men feel like you should attract a woman naturally to you. There's women in your space. You should find your tribe that naturally finds you attractive, and try to become the best version that you can within that tribe. And there's other men that say you need to speak to 100 women a day. I've heard 1,000 a day, but honestly, I don't know how they're doing that. But speak to 100 women a day.
Yeah.
What camp do you fall into? How do you think men should go about that, or is it a mix of both?
Maybe it's a mix of both, but I'm more on this side of men should approach women because that's another energy that I'll tell you. There's another, with women that are successful, and I hate to say just successful women because that's not always the case, but women still want men to chase. Even if it's like asking us out or saying, I find you very attractive. Would you be interested in going on a date with me, or whatever it is? But I think that the complaints from women that I get is that men are too wishy-washy or too soft, or they're not asking them out. It's like they're having to ask them out. In the first couple dates, I think the men should really put the energy in. If you find someone attractive, it's okay to say hello. It's okay to say, without being creepy, because I think there's also a fine line, right? It's how you approach women. And I definitely teach them how to approach in the right way.
Okay, I have a few questions. Now, you said you prefer for men to actually approach women and speak to women.
Mhm.
Are you familiar with attraction level?
Go ahead and tell me about it.
Okay, so within this whole male space, it says that you should watch for a woman's attraction level. Based off of her attraction level to you, that should determine if you approach her or not. If she's looking at you, she does something with her hair,
Mhm.
etc. She
Mhm.
gives you signs that she wants you to speak to her. Should you wait for those signs, Or there are men who are just more bulldogs. They say, forget, if you want a woman, you should go and speak to her regardless. Forget if she's giving you any kind of attraction signs. Go over there, spit game, and see how it goes.
Mhm.
How do you feel about attraction levels? Should men wait for that, or should they just go at it?
So attraction levels should be if you're on a first date and you're not sure if that person's really into you. Okay, so if a woman is into a man on a first date, she is intently looking at you in your eyes. Her body is towards you, not towards the door. You really have to look at body language, right? Because she could be saying yes, but her body's saying no. That means no because she's just maybe too shy to say no. So attraction levels, am I kind of being friend zone or is she attracted to me? Well, if she's flipping her hair, she's into you, she's like really listening, she's really engaged. I think you have a really great chance of asking her out on the second date. Now, when you're first meeting a girl, it really depends where. So if you're like at a work function or just say at a house party, and you're like, oh, someone caught your eye, right? And maybe you look at her and she looks back at you. And then you look, if you want to play a little coy and then maybe you go up to her. I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, my whole thing is if you find someone attractive, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the person for you, but you need to make an effort into finding that person. So why not ask someone? I feel like why waste time?
You shouldn't be afraid to lose. I think a lot of men are afraid of failure.
Yeah,
It's
why?
it's so weird because I remember when I was like a lot of these social skills that people are having issues with today, there were things that I had to improve on when I was like 13 or 12. Like that was the age where you started looking at women or you started going to the mall and wanting to talk to her and her friends. And that's when you started working on those social skills. And it was like a thing, like who can get the most numbers. Even if you called and they didn't pick up, like that was a thing when
Yeah.
I was young. But now it's like I have younger brothers, in early 20s, late teens, and we were at a mall one time and I saw them looking at this group of women. So I was excited because I thought it took me back to when I was younger, and I was thinking, oh man, this I can relive this through them, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, let's go talk to them. I was like, y'all like them? Let's go talk to them. Let's go say something.
Uh-huh.
They got so scared. They were like, no, no, no. I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And they were terrified,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It's just I don't know what it is. There's something in the culture today. I don't know if it's women don't like chivalrous men anymore or just men have become cowards. I have a second one for you. Unless you want to have something. Did you have
No,
something to say there?
go right ahead. I mean, I could
Okay.
go on all day, so go ahead.
So you said that women want to be pursued by men.
Yes.
I mentioned earlier that I have lazy game. Lazy game that gradually improves.
Mhm.
Women want to feel pursued. What's the difference between pursuing a woman and chasing a woman?
Okay, so pursuing someone that you're interested in is what women want. We want for you to text us if you say you're going to text us, right? If you're like, I'm going to see you on Saturday. We want to know that you're going to see us on Saturday. That just like kind of clarifies that you are into us. And chasing a woman, I guess that could be better. Like, I don't know. Chasing can be an extreme, right? But it also can just mean that like we want to be pursued. So you can say no to somebody and then they keep calling you. Okay, maybe you're like, it's too much. You should really listen to her. And then you should really know if she wants you to pursue her.
Okay, so there's there's something within this space. It says that women like bad boys. You mentioned that women like it when guys say they're going to text her when they say they will.
Yeah.
But within this space, they say don't do things like that because if you do things like that, women are going to think you're boring. And women like bad boys. They like to think about you and they like to chase you. That's what's said like universally within the male space. How do you feel about that?
So maybe when you're younger,
Okay.
maybe there's something about, the game. Oh, does he like me? Does he not like me? But I tell you, when you get to, I'm 46, when you get to my age, you don't want those games, right? Let me know that you like me. If you like me, let's go. Let's go on a date. Let's see where it goes from there. I don't need to, um, or nor do I want people to waste my time. So I understand that there's this whole thing about, if you, I don't know, I know that women want to, like, if you say something, follow through with it. That's all I'm saying. Like, just be real, be honest, because there's so many people out there who are fake, that are bullshit, that they're not real. And I think it's too much. So when you actually come through and say and do what you say, basically, there's a sense of trust there that's being built, whether or not you take it to the next level.
How intentional should you be in your dating? Reason I ask that is because sometimes you can intimidate a woman if you let her know, like, hey, I think you're gorgeous. I would love to get to know you and see where it can go, et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera. Some women get intimidated by that because you're basically telling them, like, oh, I want to see if you will become my girlfriend, wife, and I can get you pregnant. Like, how
Yeah.
do you, some women like it when you're vague with them. You mentioned you worked with some women that are indecisive or whatever, but
Yes.
some women don't like that level of directness, that much
Sure.
directness within approach. How do you,
Yeah.
how intentional should a man be?
Well, I think you should really, it's great to say someone's gorgeous, like that's nice. But I think you should say something along the lines, if you're just meeting someone, something else that you are into her, like even if it's like, oh, I see that, like, I don't know, you're smart or this. It depends on where you meet this person. But really talk about like more of who she is, not as an object. And I think when you are really wanting to get to know her as a person, then I think it's less threatening. I think it's a less direct approach. You're saying you're interested, and she knows it's not like for a friend zone. That's like, I don't have time for friends, or you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. I'm more direct. I like to just be direct, let them know that I'm interested and I want to take them on a date.
Yeah.
That's how I like to go about it. But there's a lot of dorks on the internet that are saying, I can't believe they have the balls to do this. But they're saying that when you approach a woman, you tell her, let her know you think she's attractive or whatever, and then you hand her your card.
Hmm.
And there's also guys that say that instead of asking her on the date, you should say, hey, I'm doing this weekend. Here's my number. Call me if you want to come and join me on this event for the weekend. How do you feel about those approaches versus just being direct?
Um, oh, it depends on the type of woman, right? Some women feel like, oh, that's cool. He finds me interested. I'm going to follow through. But most women won't do that. I think they're going to probably take more of the direct approach. They're going to know, like, okay, he's like seriously wants to like take me out. He's interested. So let's go with that route. I do think, however, that and I love this in Hitch. Okay, it's not like my all-time favorite, but there's such a poignant move on Will Smith's part when he goes into the bar and he sees Eva Mendes, and she's sitting there, and she's like a busy work woman. She's not into dating. She's had a rough day, and she's like, she goes and sits down, and then this guy Chip comes over, this guy who she's totally not interested, and he says these terrible one-liners, like, I can't even remember the one-liners, but Will Smith sees that she's like so not into this guy, and she keeps saying no thank you, no thank you, and he comes over and like gives her the proper drink that she wants, and because he's paying attention and he's noticing her and like all of these things that he's paying attention, and he goes over and he talks to her, and he doesn't directly say, I want to take you out, because that won't work with her. He knows how to work this particular woman. He knows that he gets her interested enough so that, it's almost like there's some mystery still. So I know that that's not every person in every situation. There is something very attractive about having a little bit of mystery as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that helped, but I think that it really depends on the situation where you're meeting them, and but I think what it is and what I take away from that moment is really paying attention, right? Men can say like this guy Chip, who's like telling her, brings her an apple martini instead of a dirty martini, and thinking that all women like apple martinis, and
Mhm.
thinking that all women will be attracted to him and his cheesy one-liners, and it works
Mhm.
on 80% of women, but not her. So
Yeah.
it's like paying attention and listening. I think it's really, really important that a lot of guys just want to hear what they want to hear, or they're not really listening.
You know, within this, there's something growing within the male space when it comes to like attracting a female. They
Mhm.
say you can do all these other things, but they say the main thing to actually get a woman really attracted to you is to use body game. So men are encouraged to get to the best physical, have their best physique possible to actually attract women. When you're working with men, do you place a high importance on a man being in shape, getting a jack body? Because I've definitely seen a difference between the way women react to a dad bod versus a muscular bod versus somebody that looks like a 13-year-old.
Yeah. So every woman wants something different. So I can't say that like your body type is going to work for every woman, right? Just like a dad bod can be a turn on to some women. I don't know who, but like, it could be like, oh, he's like the perfect dad. He's going to be the great, like, he's going to be that stay at home dad. So every woman is attracted to something different, just like men, right? You all have who and what you're attracted to. So I try and go for building confidence. If they come to me and they're like, you know what, I really want to look and feel sexy again, and I've put on 25 pounds. Okay,
Mm,
let's work on that. I try to get you healthy from, you know, making sure you're just on your best game, right? You're eating better, you're always taking care of yourself. And if that looks like getting a jack bod, that's your personal preference. Okay.
mm.
But that's not something I emphasize. That's not like you have to do this to attract this woman.
Okay. Reason I asked that because I mean you mentioned men like different things in women. All men know when they see a beautiful or a sexy woman. It's just not all men believe they can get that woman or get that woman to stay with them. Typically if they do get her, some men that are insecure, that's what leads to physical violence or other toxic things as well. And my
Mhm.
guess is women see the same thing with certain men. Some men, like you said, dad bod. If he has the dad bod, he'll be more likely to be seen as a dad, somebody that's safe and won't attract anybody else to the
Yeah.
nest.
It could have been like past relationships,
Yeah,
certain, what I'm attracted to is different than what she's attracted to. So,
I'm glad you mentioned past relationships.
mhm.
How do you help men deal with trauma from the
Yeah.
past? How do you help them deal with their trauma when they're dating and things
Yeah,
like
so I am not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I would recommend them to see someone if they have a lot of trauma and it has not been worked on. They haven't figured out that part of their life. But I do and will show them if they have patterns that keep showing up, right? If they keep doing certain things that aren't working for them, then we kind of revisit that. But anything that's like really traumatic, I think that they need to see someone that's clearly educated in that field.
Okay. So basically, you have to be healthy before they come to you.
Mostly, or
Mostly
working on
healthy.
themselves. Like, I really
Yeah.
love that if I'm working in sync with someone, not like I need to work with them in general, but they're just kind of they're in that headspace of like wanting to improve themselves, wanting to really, really get that person that they're looking to attract. So it's kind of nice.
Gotcha. Because everybody's dealing with something.
Yeah,
So as long as you're working forward towards your goals and all that, then I guess that's the best you can ask for.
exactly.
What What is the biggest turnoffs for a woman?
Hmm. Inconsistency, um, instability, because women really want to feel stable in a relationship. We want to feel that we can be safe and secure around you. Um, Anything that's like red flag, like really needy, like that's a real big turn off. I know for
Mm.
many women. Someone that's just not secure in who they are too, like us having to fix things or reassure things, or like you should really come into a relationship where you're able to, like I said, be who you are, be confident in knowing what you want. And so when those things are lacking, they can come off as red flags. Everybody has their own deal breakers, right? It could be drugs and alcohol. I don't know. For someone, it could be that you don't like kids and dogs. Like it, everybody has their three major deal breakers that, like, no
Mm.
matter what, those three, if you have in someone or even one of them, it's not going to work.
Okay.
So I feel that, yeah, big turnoffs can be really not following through, being inconsistent, lying, obviously, and really just maybe being too needy, because that's like, other
I have
issues.
I have two more questions for you.
Yeah, yeah.
What does a bad date look like for a man? I mean, I've had experiences where women will pull out their phone. You ask them to put the phone away, or not be on the phone as much, and it's like, oh, I have an emergency. My friends are going through this, etc. What are the red flags that men should avoid or watch for on dates? I'm sure that you've heard a lot of them. If you can go over
Mhm.
that.
Yes. So some red flags, definitely not paying attention, body language. Yeah, phones are a big one. Like it's okay to have your phone like next to you, like underneath your leg even, or something, like if you have children and there's an emergency. But if you're in that 30-minute date or hour date, put aside that time and know that it's okay just to be focused on that person. Um, people, like I said, lying on their profile. So maybe, like you said, they're heavier, they're shorter, they're older, or um, it could be someone showing up late. I mean, all these things, there's so many things that could go wrong. Obviously, arguing on a first date. Like,
Wow.
okay, let's just cut ties. So it's really just like, just be honest and say what you're gonna mean and mean what you're gonna say and see if there's chemistry.
It's funny. I had a woman. Obviously, I had the phone thing, but I had a woman one time where we had a great first date, kiss at the end of the date. Which she wanted to. I can tell she was excited, basically, at the end of the date.
Okay.
So I didn't get back to her until like a week later, just because I was busy, and I'll try to set up plans for the future, and I let her know the days that I was free, and it
Mhm.
was the days I was free before, and then she's like, "Oh, I'm busy on those days." And I'll let you know when I'm free. And then she called me back, like, oh, I'm available this day. And it's the day that I told her I wasn't free.
Mhm.
And I just kind of was like, okay, well, if anything changes, let me know. It was great meeting you.
Yeah.
But sometimes people can just directly sabotage things.
Oh,
I don't know. Sometimes they get scared.
self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Self-sabotage is a big thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That just says they've got issues that they need to work on.
Yeah. I know I'm old enough to know the difference between a good date and a bad date, and when I'm lying to myself. It was a good date. I feel like she was just going through some things in her head. But
Yeah.
what does a good date typically look like versus a bad date?
Yeah, well, I love to tell people to do an activity on a first date. I don't think that, like, I mean, coffee, whatever, dinner is too much, like it could be too stressful, right? I tell my clients, go plan something that maybe you've never done in your life, so it's something new. But when you do some type of activity, whether it's bike riding or like anything that's kind of physical, it takes the pressure off this like really awkward one-on-one trying to get to know someone. And sometimes you can have an instructor, or like, say you went like did these air trampoline things, it just, there's adrenaline that happens and you get these good feels, right? You can also see how someone interacts with other people. You can just tell if you actually want a second date with that person. So I think those are really great dates. And then the dinner date, obviously. But if you leave the date and you're planning a second one, because I think it's important that don't let that slide, right? Because you had a great date with her and you didn't really get back to her in a week. But she was very like nice enough that she was like, okay, I'll have another date with this guy. But I think most women, it's not like you have to put it in the schedule, but like, okay, let's talk in a week, whatever, let's set a time, let's like meet up for whatever, because you don't want that to slip by, because it's so, I think there's so many few great dates, you know, if you, or great connections these days. So
Yeah.
I think it's, don't wait. And then if you wait too long, some women take that as like, oh, he's still fishing, he's still looking, he's still swiping. And like, I don't have time for someone like that. You know, I want someone who's really serious about this.
The way I saw it was, I thought that she figured out, she thought that I probably was a player. She probably thought I didn't get back to her in like a day or so because I was out handling other women, dealing with other women or what. That's what I thought in her head. Like some,
Yeah.
she just got insecure.
Right. Yeah.
I'm curious. I have another question for you. When a man joins your program,
Hmm.
what's the longest that it's actually taken a man from getting from point A to point B? That is joining your program to actually finding somebody.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, the longest.
Yeah. What's the
I've,
longest?
I've had a client I've been working on 3, 4 years, but that's because he really, I think he really likes me to hold his, like hold his hand and really, you know, he likes me there, right?
Yeah.
But I think if a guy's really serious about getting from point A to point B, let's just say A is the beginning and B is having successful dates. You know, I can't guarantee, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to meet your forever partner, but you're meeting the right people. You're meeting the right person for you, like based on your goals and your life and your values. Um, I would say the longest would be 6 months.
Has a man ever run into an issue where his partner just wasn't in his area, which meaning that he had to either move or he had to go to like the city or something? Because I'm in Utah. Some people live in the middle of nowhere, you know.
Right.
So has it been a situation where a guy has to like change his lifestyle to actually attract that find his partner?
So, I mean, most of the guys are pretty successful. So it's either they're asking them to move or whatever, but mostly there's some that do well with seeing each other once a month or twice a month. So not every relationship has to be I sleep in the same bed with my partner every night for the rest of life. It's really like what works for you.
Yeah.
So it might not be that, right? It might be okay, I live here half the time and here half the time. But I don't want men to give up who they are, right? So
Yeah.
that's really important. Don't give up your identity. Don't give up your authentic self. Don't give up those things for someone because you think they're so great.
How do you feel about this? I had a guy on my show and he mentioned that the problem is that we have players trying to be husbands, and we have husbands trying to be players. You know, not everybody is supposed to be in a relationship or supposed to be in a relationship that looks like the conventional relationship.
Yes.
How do you feel about conventional relationships? Because obviously the culture's changing, polygamy is growing. The
Mhm.
reason we even had monogamous relationships through religion, and that's kind of been women have been kind of stuck in that kind of relationship in the
Yeah.
Western world for like the last 100 years or so. How do
Right.
you honestly feel about conventional relationships today?
I'm very non-traditional. So that's just me personally. Um, but I don't emphasize my lifestyle or the way that I view relationships on them. I just want them to be open, right? They might try something and works really well, but they're, like you said, they're so set in like what society expects and what they have been ingrained in their heads, like what really should be. So I think there is a relationship for everyone if that's what you want. But you have to really like you have to want some type of relationship, and it might not look like what you think or I think. So I'm here as like a guide and to help and to coach and to put them in different situations that maybe they normally wouldn't think about.
So there's nothing wrong with having three wives and each one of them having three kids. Nothing wrong with that.
If that's
Nine
what you
kids.
want. I mean, it's not for everybody, but like, it's everybody is different. And I think it's okay. I think it's getting to the point of it's okay to be who you are. And it doesn't mean that someone out there is not going to love you for that. Right. I think, yeah. So
You said you're 46.
I am.
These questions just get juicier and juicier. You're 40, you're 46. How has dating for you, how has your mindset changed when it comes to how you feel about relationships today versus how you felt about relationships when you were 20?
Oh my God. Like I
Yeah.
feel like I've lived 5 different lives. 5 different Celestes have come, and the way that I view life now is so different. I'm a single mom. I have my daughter is
Mhm.
16, and like, I run a business, and that's not what I like imagined my life would be. I also didn't know that, you know, I learned at a later life that I was bisexual. I didn't know that that
Mhm.
was who I was. I thought I only loved guys, and that was like I only had boyfriends. So
Mhm.
I didn't know that certain things would have happened, right? But I've lived, I've experienced, I know who I am, and I'm comfortable with who I am. And so I think that just comes with experience, it comes with age, it comes with, just life. I don't know.
What was your ideal relationship when you were 20?
Ooh. I don't know, like, a lot of my friends where I grew up, they were like getting married and settling down. And I was like, I don't want to get married, but I was really into having that boyfriend, having that relationship and living together and like, being
Yeah.
all cutesy and playing house. And it was just different. I was young and naive. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I gotta kinda that's what I've been thinking about. Like just said, I just purchased a house,
Hmm.
and I like my own space, but I'm the oldest of 11 children. So I love kids,
Wow.
but it's like I have to share my space with a lot of people, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if that really works for me. Maybe I can get a house next to my house, and they could stay in that house, or that's just me in my weird head. But I've definitely thought about that.
Yeah.
How I would do that.
Yeah, well, I didn't want children. I'm the oldest of, well, for my parents, 5, but they also had more children. So it's like,
Hmm.
I kind of felt like because I was the oldest, I kind of helped my family and raised them. And like, I wanted to have my own identity. And
Yeah.
even now, I looked, there was an article you talk about successful relationships. They have separate rooms in the house, and that's
Oh,
worked really well.
okay.
So on the weekends they share a bed, or maybe they do something different at keeping up the sex life, but they have
Mhm.
their own space. Even Carson Daly, him and his wife have separate rooms, and he's very open and honest about it. So,
Oh. For me personally, because we're keeping it real right now. I personally, the way I feel is I don't feel like the conventional way that we see relationships is the
mhm,
right way, and I don't
yeah,
think it's the wrong way. I'm
mhm,
kind of along. I kind of agree with you when it comes to everybody. Not everybody has their own view of what a perfect relationship would look like. I'm a
right.
very open person. I'm a free
Mhm,
person. I love going and meeting people. I'm also really respectful, and I love hearing new ideas and things. But the person that I'm with, I would like them to be open as well, and be flexible and feel free enough to do what they want to do. But a
mhm,
lot of times when they get into relationships,
yeah,
they want you to play a role, and then that's what causes the tension and people trying to control their partner and the abuse and all that stuff. But that's what I'm thinking, for me, an ideal relationship would look like.
yeah. Well, you have to be like, and it's
Mhm.
okay to have that. You will find that person to be open with you and comfortable, because if they're not, it's not going to align. It's not going to be the person.
Yeah,
So
hear you. All right, Celeste, thank you for being here. This
thank
was
you
a
for
this is a good one. This is a good show. And
having
one of the things I'm definitely going to do with this podcast, I'm going to start doing panels. I want to start flying in different female dating coaches, actually doing group sessions. So it'll probably be you and a few other female dating coaches. But is that something you think you'd be interested in?
Oh, that'd be amazing. Yeah, I'd love that.
Okay, awesome. All right, awesome.
Yeah.
I'll keep you posted about that. But
Okay.
anyways, thank you for being on the show, and I'll catch you next time.
Sounds good. Thank you.